Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 17. Chapter 89-94. Chad's POV. Chad, there's something you need to know, the Alpha said to me with a concerned expression. Her name is Tarine Fields, and she was executed by the Blue Lake Pack for multiple crimes. Sir. One of the major crimes was murdering the previous beta female, Lizzie Neslany. My eyes popped out of my head. I couldn't even imagine my mate a murderer. Did they have proof she did it? Yes, her own admission of guilt. My jaw dropped. She also was caught attempting to kill another beta female, the youngest of the two. The current beta's sister-in-law. I just scoffed. Alpha, this is insane. She didn't seem like the type that could even harm a fly. Unfortunately, that's not all. What? Chad, her third crime actually concerns you directly. Me? He nodded his head and took a deep breath. Chad, Tarine gave birth several months before she was executed. I just furrowed my brows. She had been lying to the young beta, Keaton, that he was the father when in reality, he wasn't. He paused a minute and looked me in the eyes. Before she was executed, Tarine admitted to Beta Kendrick and his family that her mate was the biological father of her pup, and that he was a guard here, at Golden Moon, that she met at a club. I just blinked and scrunched my face in confusion. What? Wait, Alpha, are you saying that I have a pup out there? That's exactly what I am saying. I opened and closed my mouth like a fish because I didn't know how to respond to that. Chad, the Blue Lake Alpha is keeping the boy safe in their pack orphanage. Boy? Yes, you have a son. My shoulders dropped, and I just scoffed again. But, why would she keep something like from me? If she knew where I was the entire time, why would she keep my son from me? Our understanding is that she lied about the paternity so that she can become the chosen mate for the young beta. Apparently, she knew that his father, the prior beta, would force him to reject his true mate and take her as his chosen mate, therefore, making her son a beta. She did all of this for rank. I exclaimed, and he just nodded. Chad, what she did is no longer relevant, but what is relevant is that you have a son, and he has no one. Tarine's family died when she was a young teen, and she had no next of kin at Blue Lake. If you don't choose to claim him, he becomes an orphan. Alpha, how do I raise an infant pup on my own? You aren't alone, Chad. Your parents are here, your sister has pups, and you have an entire support system here in the pack, he replied. The beta came and put his hand on my shoulder. Chad, I can't even imagine what your mind must be going through right now, but don't abandon your son all because his mother abandoned you. Do right by him, and give him the family that deserves. And what do I do when the day comes that he asks where his mother is? I asked the beta. You tell him the truth. You tell him that she passed on when he was an infant because she broke the law. You don't have to go into detail when he's young, but you will give him the respect he deserves when he becomes a man and tell him the whole truth. But for now, all you need to do is be there for him, love him, and show him what family really means. And who knows, maybe he won't ask about her because maybe the moon goddess will give you a second chance, and he can have a new mother, one that will put his needs above her own. What do you mean by that? Another thing Tarine admitted to was that she promised your son to a dark witch as payment for the poison that killed Lizzie, Alpha Richard replied. What? I growled. Though in retrospect, she assumed that her firstborn would have beta blood, but since he doesn't, the dark witch has no use for him. So, he's safe. Yes, he's safe and is being well taken care of. However, nothing is more important for a son than the love of his father, he said. I took a deep breath and nodded my head. I know that this is a lot to take in, but I think you owe it to your son, who is innocent in all of this. I understand, Alpha, and I agree with you. It's just that, this really is a lot. Never in a million years did I think my mate could be so evil, let alone that one night with her produced a pup. Well, you know what it only takes one time, he replies, making me smile. I guess I should go talk to my parents. Do you want me to go with you? No, Alpha, I can handle it. Let me know when you're ready and I will go with you to Blue Lake. Yes, Alpha. I stood up, shook both his and the beta's hands, and went to go see my family. Having to explain to them that I had found my mate, and everything she did after our one night together had my mother practically fainting, my dad growling with rage, and my older sister and her mate shifting because they wanted to dig up her remains and desecrate her. But when I told them that I had a son, they all calmed down. Knowing and understanding we were my son's only family left, had everyone was more than open to bringing him home to us and raising him in our household. I was grateful that my family was so kind-hearted and warm. Alpha Richard was right when he said that I wouldn't be alone when it came to raising my son. Once I got the okay from my parents, they got to work putting necessary baby items in my room, along with an old crib my sister's last pup outgrew. I let the Alpha know that I was ready to retrieve my son, and we would leave at first light. He had already contacted the Alpha of Blue Lake, and he was more than happy to hear the good news. I decided to have my mom come with us because I knew my son would need some tender love and care from a woman and not just me. I couldn't wait to hold my son. The next morning, Alpha Richard, my mom, and I left Golden Moon bright and early to begin the 2-hour drive to Blue Lake. I had never been to this pack before, but I do know that for a young Alpha, Alpha Valencia has one of the largest packs on this side of the country. And for someone who is only in their late 20s, that's astounding. Many Alphas are envious of him, but my Alpha is very respectful, and they have a good relationship. My Alpha is on the verge of retiring, and rumor has it, he's in line to become an elder to replace the one that was banished from Blood Moon last year. The only problem we're facing is that we don't have a replacement. Our Beta and Gamma don't want the TLE because they plan to retire with the Alpha and let their sons take over. However, Richard only had 3 girls, and they've all left our pack to be with their mates. We would all just have to wait and see what happens. When we arrived at Blue Lake, I was in awe at how large this pack really was. They practically had an entire city hidden away within the mountains. It looked more like a small town rather than a pack. Wow, this pack territory is insane, I said, looking out of the window as we crossed through the gates. Yes, it is. The first time I ever came here was when Jasper's grandfather was still Alpha, and I had barely taken over my pack. Jasper hadn't even been born. His mother was pregnant with him, and this pack only had about 200 pack members. Over the years, it pretty much stayed that way until Jasper took over at 18. Over the span of 9 years, he has now grown his pack to approximately 850 pack members, including the newborns he just added, and the orphaned pups. He's so young, I can't believe he was able to do that, I replied. He is young, but he is smart, I just nodded my head. A few minutes later, we pulled up to the front of the castle, which was Ginner Mouse. What the? Richard said before getting out of the car. I was confused at his reaction. We all got out of the car and the Alpha was standing waiting for us, but what caught me off guard was that there were 2 young women with him. Alpha Jasper, it appears that you have some explaining to do, Alpha Richard said to him. I know this is a surprise, but believe me, I still don't know how to wrap my own head around what is happening, but I can tell you, it was unexpected, Alpha Jasper said and seemed to be under a lot of stress. But that's not why you are here, he continued. Yes, we are here for a more pressing matter, Alpha Richard. Chad, this is Alpha Jasper Valencia, he introduced me. Alpha, I bowed my head. Chad, welcome to Blue Lake, this is Megan Campbell, my Luna, he said facing the cute brunette, and this, he turned to face the other young woman who was blonde, is my previous Luna, Saren. I tensed up at the sudden awkwardness and tension between the two ladies. I just bowed my head to both of them as they stared each other down. Alpha Jasper, this is Chad's mother Hallie, Alpha Richard introduced. Hello, Hallie, welcome. Thank you, Alpha. Saren, please go back to the guest room. This is a sensitive matter, and unfortunately, with Megan being the current Luna, she will accompany me, Alpha Jasper said. Luna Saren scowled at him and stomped away. I apologize for her behavior, unfortunately, things are a little tense around here, he said to us. It's fine, Alpha, I replied. If you would all follow me, he led us into the castle, and through the living area, and down a long hallway. We ended up in what appeared to be a conference room. I have already linked with the head of the orphanage, and she is bringing him now. I nodded my head and my nerves started to get the best of me. Sweetheart, are you okay? My mom asked me. I don't know, Mom. I mean, just yesterday I thought I was a single rejected wolf, and now today, I find out my mate royally inged up multiple people's lives, and on top of it all, I found out that I have a son. Chad, you can do this. Things happen for a reason. This is just how everything was meant to play out. Your son, my grandbaby, is safe and he's going to be going home to where he belongs. With you and with us, she said and kissed my cheek. I nodded and we waited. A few minutes later, there was a knock on the door, and in came a woman in her mid to late 40s, and she was holding a baby boy with blonde hair and brown eyes. Oh my, he looks just like you, my mother said, taking one look at him. The woman came straight up to me with a smile on her face and gently handed me my son. How old is he? I asked out loud, but to no one in particular. He just turned 8 months, Alpha Jasper replied. I looked down at my son, who was just looking up at me, and he immediately smiled and started to giggle. Oh, how precious! My mother squealed. What's his name? Tarine named him Killian. Killian, that's not a bad name. I think I'll keep it, I replied. I adjusted my son so I was holding him upright, and he immediately nuzzled his face into my neck and held on with one of his arms. He knows you, Alpha Richard said. How? Pups know their parents' scent when they're young. Parents have a bond with their young and the young feel it too, my mother answered. My, he is beautiful, she said, stroking his head. I heard his little yawn, and he nuzzled into my neck even further and fell asleep. Well, I guess there's no need for a paternity test, Alpha Jasper said. You're the only person other than the head of the orphanage that he has let hold him that way. Alpha, thank you for keeping him safe, I said. Don't thank me, it was my beta who kept him safe. Even after everything Tarine did, he knew that Killian was innocent and deserved a good life. He's the one who got Tarine to tell us where his biological father was, or at least who he was. Please thank your beta for me, I bowed my head and held my son close. Alpha Jasper, thank you for contacting me and allowing Chad to reunite with this son, Alpha Richard said. I wish we could stay, but I do have a pack to run, and it appears you have your own issues to deal with it. I understand, we will speak soon. Remember what we discussed? Alpha Jasper nodded his head. Chad, Hallie, let's go home. Wait, Luna. Megan stopped us. Here are some supplies for your ride home, she said, handing us a bag. There's diapers, wipes, his clothes that Tarine was able to provide, and his favorite toys. Thank you, Luna, my mother said, taking the bag. We bid our goodbyes and left Blue Lake. During the drive home, we stopped by a Walmart to purchase a car seat for Killian. Once we got that together, my mother sat in the back seat with him while I drove, and Alpha Richard was in the passenger seat. I looked in the rearview mirror and made a promise to myself and Killian that I would be the best father he ever could have. I also promised that when the day comes that he asks about Tarine, I would tell him the truth, and the whole truth. Both of our lives were already filled with enough lies because of her, and I would be Ed if I let her fill it with even more, even in death. Chapter 90. Imposter. Saren's POV. I don't understand why Jasper isn't paying any attention to me. Everything is about Megan and their son Sam now. I was told that the moment I came back to Blue Lake that Jasper would take me in his arms and love me unconditionally, but that's not what happened. Did my master lie to me? All he said was that I need to use my powers on her, but I can't seem to ever get her alone. She is always with someone, whether it's one of the other girls, Grace, or her son. I was told that her son was to never be harmed because he is innocent. I can't disobey my master. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I physically can't, and that's something that I don't understand. As I was pacing in my guest room, there was a knock on my door. I went to go open it and I was surprised to see Megan, alone. What do you want? I asked her. Answers, and you're going to give them to me. Jasper told us to stay away from each other, I replied. Though of course, I had been trying to find ways to get her alone. She just came to me. Jasper is at work, and I don't plan on fighting with you unless absolutely necessary, she said and pushed her way in. I closed the door and locked it. What do you want to know? I asked her, crossing my arms. Who are you? She asked. I'm Saren, Jasper's mate. What's your full name? Saren Calloway. When were you born? Why does that matter? Just humor me. Ugh, fine. October 3rd, 2001, I answered. She glared at me in confusion. I tried to read her thoughts, but I couldn't. Why are you here? She asked, crossing her arms. I want Jasper back. You want him back, or you need him back? Is there a difference? As a matter of fact, there is. So, which one is it? Want, I answered, and she immediately lifted her eyebrow. What's it to you anyway? I asked her. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Saren, but I'm with Jasper now, and we have a son together. We love each other, and we have already completed the mating process. No, you haven't, Megan, I say to her, and she furrows her brows. Jasper isn't marked, her eyes widened at the realization. He may have marked you, but he doesn't have your mark, so that makes him fair game. Actually, no it doesn't. Because Jasper has marked me, and I bore his son, the future alpha of Blue Lake, I'm automatically the Luna, regardless if he's marked or not, she spat at me. Ronan even told you that since you rejected him and laid down your TLE of Luna when you left, you can't be the Luna anymore. I glared at Megan when she repeated what Ronan said to me. I kept trying to read her thoughts, but I couldn't. Who was this Megan girl? I knew she wasn't some random she-wolf Jasper slept with. They were more intimate than that. Everyone else's thoughts said so. Everyone was questioning me and who I was, which I didn't understand. I don't know who you are, or what you are, but stay away from Jasper. Megan shouted at me, her eyes turning black. She didn't even let me respond before shoving me and leaving my room. Her blatant disregard for the fact that I was the rightful Luna irked me in the worst way that I hadn't even realized I was following after her down the stairs until I used my telepathy and threw her across the room. What the hell? She screamed and looked back at me. Now was a good time as any to show her who was boss. I tried to use my telepathy again, but she blocked it using her own. We were both in a state of shock and we stared each other down. Megan's POV. I couldn't help myself. I had to confront this fake Siren. She's been here for over a week already, and all she does is give me dirty looks and tries to get Jasper's attention. Thankfully, it's not working. I mean, she's not real. She can't be. When I try to read her thoughts, her mind is completely hollow. Other than what she says to everyone, it's like she has no mind of her own. It sounds crazy, but it's what I feel from her. After confronting her and her telling me that her goal is to get Jasper back, it was almost comical, but yet, in her hollow mind, she actually believed she was the real Siren and that I was just Megan. Whatever kind of trick or magical nonsense this SHT was, I needed to put a stop to it. After giving her a piece of my mind and leaving her guest room, I was caught off guard when I felt a powerful telepathic force send me flying across the foyer. Thankfully, I landed on the sofa, but when I looked back and saw only my fake self staring daggers at me, I realized the force came from her. She had my powers, and they were just as powerful. It was no wonder why I felt a powerful aura when she first came here. I felt her trying to use it again, and so I blocked it with my own, and her eyes when she realized I had powers too freaked her out. Whoever she wasn't planning on my having powers. She obviously has no idea that I'm the real her, or she is the fake me, or it. I felt her drop her force, but then I started notice objects starting to float. Oh, hell no. I put my up shield and used everything I had to block off all the objects that started to fly my way. I blocked each one and started to throw them back her, and she was matching me shot for shot. What are you? She screamed at me. I should be asking her that same question. But that's when I realized that we were in the castle and pack members could walk by any second. They can't know I have powers. They can't know that I'm the real Siren. I had to think fast before someone walked by. I looked to where all of the objects were coming from. I quickly dropped my shield and ducked to the floor. Thankfully, all of the objects collided together above me and shattered into 100 pieces, dropping on top of me. Ah! I screamed as loud as I could, hoping that someone would hear me. What's going on down there? I heard Kendrick's voice. Kendrick! Help! I shouted. I heard a bunch of rumbling coming from down the stairs. Siren! What are you doing? He shouted at the fake me and ran over to my side. Kendrick, she attacked me. She has powers. I shouted while clinging to him for dear life. Kendrick just looked down at me in shock. Obviously not knowing that the fake me could have powers. Siren! Did you attack Megan? Kendrick growled at her, making her flinch. Seeing her flinch was weird. No one could make me flinch, only William could, and even then that didn't happen often anymore. You're taking her side, the fake me exclaimed in shock. Siren! Go back to the guest room. Kendrick ordered her, and somehow, she actually obeyed and stomped away. He lifted an eyebrow at her retreating form, and then looked down at me. Ken, we need to have a serious talk, I tell him, and he nods. We got up to the 4th floor to his room, to make sure that no one can hear us. Melody is there and we tell her what happened. Whoa! What? She shouts. Yeah, the fake me has my powers, and she used them against me, in full force. I exclaimed, throwing my hands up. That's insane. How is that possible? She asked. I don't know, but I need to find out. I don't think she's a real either, I tell them, and they look at me. I can't read her thoughts. What if she is blocking you out? Kendrick asked. She's not, I would know, I replied, and rubbed my face. Her mind is hollow. It's like she has no mind of her own, and only what she says it's what's there, I tell them, and they both give confused looks. When someone speaks, their mind will always wonder at the same time. For example, you guys are both invested in what I am saying, and you reply to what you want, but I can read both of your minds, and the fact that both of you are upset about my fight with my fake self interrupted X for you, they both tensed. Stop reading our thoughts, Melody scowled at me. I did it to prove a point, I tell her. This fake me doesn't have a mind. She's not a real living person, even though she might think she is, and may even seem like one. It has to be dark magic then, Kendrick said, scratching his head furiously. But it can't be Svetlana. Jasper said he already spoke with her, and she's been laying low since she is trying to hide from, he stopped mid-sentence and looked horrified. Babe. Melody waved her hand in his face. Kendrick, what's wrong? I asked. You said fake Saren used her powers in full force, he asked me, and I nodded my head. I technically used mine too, but I stopped in case a pack member walked in. Ah, he shouted and scratched his head again. You're not supposed to use your powers, he shouted at me. Remember, the vampire can pick up on it, when he said that I covered my face in realization. Do you think the fake Saren planned this? Melody asked. No, she didn't, I answered. I could tell she was acting out of anger and impulse. Whoever she is, or whatever she is, I don't think she realized what she was doing, at least not at first. We all looked at each other with concern written all over our faces. If both me and the fake me used our powers to full capacity, my premonition may come true even sooner than I expected. Jasper's POV. I was sitting at work thinking about everything that is going on. The fact that Saren's clone showed up out of the blue was not part of the plan I had made with Svetlana, but then again, I didn't know any of the details. Flashback. Wait, you said you used a clone to trick the vampire? I asked Svetlana. I did. And you said he couldn't tell the difference? No, he could not. He may be able to sense the primordial's powers, but that is because he has become accustomed to the strength of the power. He is too stupid to know a spell even if one slapped him in the face, Svetlana answered. I think I have a plan that will not only save Saren's life but possibly get rid of him for good, I tell her. Please, do share. Create a clone of Saren, the real Saren, I tell her, and she lifts an eyebrow at me. You said he has a picture of her, did you not? You want to use a clone to get him to come out hiding and go after her instead of the real Luna, who is currently disguised. Exactly, but I don't want to know any details. You create the clone, and you come up with the plan. The less I know the better. I can't have Saren reading my thoughts, and possibly ruining this. She can't act for the life of her. The only reason why the pack hasn't figured anything out is that she answers to Megan, looks different, and doesn't use her powers. She still acts exactly the same, and believe me when I say, pack members are making comparisons. I understand, Alpha. But in order to create her clone, I will need her DNA. Why? I asked her. I can create the body no problem, but if you want this clone to be the real deal, I need the Luna's DNA, and I need it while she is in her true form, not her disguise. I can do that, just give me a day or two. Very well. End flashback. After she left my office that day, I convinced Megan to contact Olivia to have her change her back to Saren for one night because I missed her in her real ident. Saren had no problem with changing back, and during a night of passionate X, that included hair pulling and biting, but no marking because I spent most of the time behind her and doing the biting, I was able to collect a few hair follicles of hers to give to Svetlana. Once I handed off the DNA sample, I left it at that. I didn't want to know anything else because I needed this plan to work while keeping me in the dark. I can play off not knowing who the clone is because, in all honesty, I don't know who she is. Yes, I know she's a clone, but that doesn't entail who she is, only what she is, therefore, Saren or Megan can't catch me in a lie. I'm not sure what Svetlana told the clone or how much, but it does appear she gave her enough knowledge to infiltrate the pack and make her way in. Plus the backstory about going to Washington and hearing rumors about Megan and me was a nice touch. I'm curious to see exactly what it is that Svetlana has planned with the clone. As I was staring off into space thinking about everything that has been going on, my thoughts were interrupted by a phone call from Kendrick. Hello. Jasper, I think we're in trouble. What kind of trouble? Is Megan okay? Megan is fine, for now. What's going on? Megan got into a fight with her doppelganger, or should I say Saren got into a fight with her doppelganger. What happened? Megan had some words with her, and it ended backfiring with the imposter Saren attacking Megan using her powers. In self-defense, Megan used her powers as well, and they both used them in full force. Hearing that made my stomach churn. Svetlana was able to copy Saren's powers into the clone, and they both used them in full force. That was it, Svetlana wanted the clone to emit her aura so the vampire could pick up on it. Jasper. Are you listening to me? Hey? What? Dude, get your head out of the clouds and get home. If they both used their powers, there's no telling if the vampire picked up on it or not. Yeah, I got it, I'm leaving now. I shouted into the phone and hung up. This wasn't good. If they both used their powers, then what if the vampire picked up on both of them? I needed to speak to Svetlana. I pulled out one of her new calling cards and tore it in half. A few minutes later, she showed up, but she wasn't who I expected. Hello, Alpha. Svetlana. You can call me Stefan now, he said. What? I exclaimed. Svetlana is dead, so I needed a new ident. I figured changing into a man for a little while would do me some good. I furrowed my brows and opened and closed my mouth like a fish. Don't worry, it's only the face and upper body. My lower half is still female, that is unless a woman wants to have intercourse, then I need to add the PS and testicles. I must say however, you men really use a lot of back muscles during X, how do you do it without herniating a disc? That's not why I called you. I shouted at him. Okay, well, what did you call me for? The clone. Oh yes, how is she doing? Is she as perfect as you hoped? That and more, how the hell did you replicate Saren's powers into the clone? Her powers come with the DNA, unfortunately, because the clone didn't give birth, it's a little weaker than the real Saren. Why do you ask? Because they both went head to head using their powers a little while ago. I shouted. Oh, well, that didn't take long, he retorted. What? Alpha, you said you didn't want to know about any of the details, so I'm not going to tell you. Fine, tell me this then. If they both used their powers, will the vampire be able to pick up on both of them, or just one of them? Their powers are the same Alpha, regardless if one is more powerful than the other because of the small difference of having given birth. The aura and power behind them will be the same to vermin. If they used their powers at the same time, it will be powerful enough for him to pick up on it. I say you have maybe 48 to 72 hours before he locates her, and remember, he only knows what Saren looks like when she is blonde. Okay. You will know what to do when the times comes. The clone was created for a specific purpose, and I gave her specific instructions on what to do when the time is right. She is convinced she is real, so her feelings for you are genuine, and so is her jealousy. I had to tell her a few things to make sure that she reacts a certain way. That, and she has a mission to complete. Megan will play a part in that when the time is right, and she will know it, and so will you. Just be patient, and trust in your Luna, Stefan said. He bowed his head and disappeared. I raked my hands through my hair in frustration. What the hell could the plan really be? Chapter 91. Alessandro's POV. EGOR. Get in here. Yes, Master. Did you feel that? Feel what, my liege? I looked at my disfigured little helper and constantly wonder why I have kept him around all these millenniums. But then I remember that his mother was my sister and I promised to watch over him until someone drove a stake through his heart or ripped off his head. Which, my last primordial bride almost did. Ileana, she was quite the beauty. Hence why Edgar's face is disfigured. The power of the primordial, I answered. I'm sorry, Master, but I don't feel her power the way you do. No one does, he replied with his head bowed. That's the answer I wanted to hear. I want to make sure that only I, Alessandro Barbanegra, am the only vampire that can feel her power. It was strong, stronger than before, I say as I linger on the powerful aura that makes my skin crawl with delight. This Ryan, or Saren as she likes to be called, has to be the most beautiful primordial to have ever existed. Long luscious wavy blonde hair, chocolate eyes, peach cheeks, radiant smile, and te frame. She was beyond perfect to be my bride. Over the many millennia I have been alive, I've learned how to hone in on the primordial. Though this only happens after her bond with her mate is severed. Regardless if it is rekindled, I always find them. This time will be no different, as I know exactly where she is. That Alpha from Blood Moon was an IT to let me know where she had gone. Knowing that she was once the Luna to the Blue Lake Pack, all I've had to do was wait for her to go back to her mate. They always go back to their mate, and sure enough, Saren was no different. Edgar. Yes, Master. Ready the plane, we are going back to America. Sir, why not just Shimmer? Because I will not be coming back alone. Yes, Master, he retreated backward and left my chamber. I stared at the photo of Saren and traced her beauty with my fingertips. I refused to fail this time. I had the perfect remedy to make sure that she conceived immediately, and that my heirs will be carried to full term. No more miscarriages, no more stillborn, and no more early deaths from disease. This is the time that my bloodline will reign supreme. I will destroy all of humanity, and my children will conquer the supernatural world. I put her photo away safely in my pocket and made my way out of my chamber. I called my driver to get the car ready, and in no time at all, we were on our way to the airport. Though this flight will take many hours, I have waited almost 3 centuries for this day, so another couple of days won't hurt. Megan's POV. I kept my head down as Jasper paced the bedroom back and forth. I knew he was angry the moment he got home. Kendrick had to go open his big mouth and told him about my fight with my fake self and that we had both used our powers. Jasper has not said a word to me since he got home. Though he really doesn't have to, his thoughts say it all. Tink, he starts and stops. He grunts and gr0ans and keeps pacing. I just can't believe that you would do something so reckless, he finally said to me. I'm sorry, Jasper. It's not about being sorry, he shouted at me. We have been doing everything to make sure the vampire doesn't pick up on your powers, and the moment that you're antagonized, you go and use them, in full force. I lowered my head. It's bad enough we have a fake you walking around the castle, and stirring things up, but you two just had to go and fight with each other. I told you to stay away from her until we figured out who she really is. I know, I just couldn't help myself. I shouted at him. Do you know how insane all of this is for me? I mean, I practically fought with myself with my own powers. I'm my own rival. Do you realize that in my case it's not just a saying anymore? No, I don't know how insane this is for you, but have you thought about it from my perspective? I'm the alpha, and as of right now, from everyone else's standpoint, my destined mate who rejected me is walking around while the real her is currently disguised as my mistress and chosen mate. I furrowed my brows and pouted my bottom. No, you don't get to play the innocent one in this, he pointed at me. What did you expect me to do then? Just idly sit by while this thing tried to wiggle her way into your life and try to stake a claim on you, like you're her actual mate? I'm the real Saren. I know that I would never allow anyone or anything to ruin us again. We've been through too much to let anything happen to us now, but it's not just about us anymore, we have Sam. I tensed up when he mentioned Sam. Megan, I know that you're the real Saren, that you are my dearest, and that you're the one that gave birth to our son. But you need to think like his mother and not just as my mate. You said it yourself that in your premonition the vampire threatens him. Oh my god! Your fight with the fake you could bring the vampire right to us and put our entire pack at risk. I'm sorry, Jasper. I didn't, oh god, what have I done? I started to panic realizing my mistake. What's done is done, and what we're going to do is work through this one step at a time. How? The first step is we need to prepare for the vampire's arrival. I do not doubt in my mind that he's going to find you. But he doesn't know what I look like. True, but he knows your power and your aura. I can guarantee that once he gets here, it won't take him long to figure out who you are. Wait. What? The fake me. What about her? She emits the same powerful aura that I do, what if he senses her and not me? Megan, I doubt a fake you can have all of your primordial powers. What if she does? Maybe we can use her to set a trap for him. Megan, you said it yourself, you don't think she's an actual living person, which means, if he tries to breed with her, she can't get pregnant, he's going to know something is wrong, and he may try and come back. Ugh, then what do you suppose we do? I think you need to start practicing how to KLL him, the way William taught you. But, if I try to go up against him, he's going to know I'm the primordial and not the fake Saren. I know, but you heard what William said. Once you have Sam, you will come into your full powers. And now that vampire knows you exist, you need to start training again. But, what if people see? Then they see, and we blow our cover. My mouth dropped when he said that. Eventually, everyone is going to find out the truth, but I'm just, wait. What? We don't need to blow our cover, I think I know what we can do. Are you going to share? Not yet, I need to go speak with Saren. He ssc'd my forehead and just left the room. I scoffed at him and just stood there in the middle of our room at a complete loss. What was he planning, and why couldn't I read his thoughts all of a sudden? I swear, I think Jasper has figured out a way to block my telepathy and it's quite irritating. I wanted to follow him, and eavesdrop on him, but Sam started to cry, so I had no choice but take care of him while Jasper went to go see the fake me. The next day, Jasper didn't go to work, but what he did do, was train with the fake me. He was doing the training that I used to do with William with the fake arrows. As I watched from the window, I could see her smiling and it was so creepy to see myself this way. Her powers were SP0T on though. She stopped every arrow, she threw blade into the air with no problem, and what really freaked me out was that she could control the elements the way I could. It's weird seeing the Alpha and the old Luna together like that again, I heard an Omega whisper. Do you think he will take her back? Another asked. He had a pup with the current Luna, he can't take back the old Luna, someone else answered. Well, what if he claimed them both? The first Omega said. Oh my gosh, how scandalous, another replied and they all giggled. I heard them gasp when they saw me, and they scurried away. A part of me was honestly contemplating staying Megan, but with this fake me running around, I've come to realize that I don't like not being in my own skin. Megan was never meant to be permanent. She was just a temporary solution until I gave birth to Sam, and left Michigan. But that never happened. Even though Jasper says he can love me in any skin, I don't think I could love myself. I miss being me. I miss being Saren Calloway. The 10-year-old who survived her pack, who was a slave for 8 years to the pack who killed her family, the girl who found her true love after she thought all hope was lost. Saren is the survivor and the fighter, not Megan. Megan is just a disguise, not a living person. She exists because of magic, Saren exists because of sacrifice, willpower, and the perseverance to fight on. As I kept watching Jasper and the fake me train, I decided that once the vampire was killed, that once I killed him, I want to go back to being Saren. I don't want to be Megan Campbell, even if that means I remain dead to the world. My parents didn't protect me and die for nothing. They died so that I can live, and I refuse to hide who I am because of what people may think. I've been to hell and back, and I've survived it all. I saw that they were finished with training, and I expected them to just come inside, but instead, the fake me ran into Jasper's arms and kissed him. I wanted to rip her shreds, but I paused a second. Why wasn't I in pain? Jasper is technically kissing someone else, but I'm not in pain. Callie, why aren't we in pain? Saren, that thing, she's you. I know that she's me, but she's not really me. No, Saren. She is you. I sensed it during your fight yesterday. She doesn't have a wolf, but she is you. Callie, you're not making sense. Saren, I believe that she may be a magical clone. What? Yes, I truly believe it. That's why she has no mind and no other thoughts. She's not a real person or a living person, but she is in fact you. That's why her kissing Jasper doesn't hurt us. She is you. She is his mate, just as much as you are. After Callie said that, my mouth dropped in shock. This thing, this fake me, was a clone. Who would make a clone of me, and why? Jasper's POV. When Saren's clone KSSCD me, I was surprised and speechless at the same time. Somehow, not sure how, but I felt the sparks coming from the clone. I couldn't help but KSS her back. It felt like I was seeing the real Saren. Everything about the clone felt like the real deal. That's when I realized that Megan could never compare to Saren. Even though they were the same, Megan was only a facade, and Saren was my mate, my love, the mother to my pup. As much as I loved Megan, I realized that I only loved her because I knew that she was Saren in disguise. I pulled away from the clone, and she smiled really big. The beautiful radiant smile that I missed. "See, I knew you still loved me," she said to me. "Saren. Jasper, leave Megan and come back to me." "I can't just leave her, we have a son together," I tell her even though I knew this conversation was somewhat pointless. "Saren, I need to go speak with Megan. I'm fairly certain that she felt us kissing, and I need to be sure she doesn't do anything drastic." "But Jasper, training is over. Go get cleaned up for lunch," I tell her and walk away. I hear her scoff and gr0an in frustration. Everything about this clone was the same. "Well, what did you expect?" "What do you mean, Blade? Even though this Saren is a clone, she is made from our mate's DNA. She is Saren. She is our mate." "What? Jasper, there is no difference between Megan, who is our mate in disguise, or this clone of our mate, because it is as you always say, they are the same." I stopped mid-track when he said that and looked back at the clone who was sulking. The same kind of sulking Saren always did when she didn't get her way. The kind of sulking that made me give in to her all the time so I could make her smile again. I shook off my thoughts and ran to find Megan. Because we haven't got around to her marking me, we still can't mind link, but now I'm thinking if I want Megan to mark me or not. Even though Megan bears my mark, it doesn't do anything to Saren's real identity because she also bears my original mark. "Megan, are you in here?" I shouted when I opened the door and I found her on the edge of the bed staring at the floor. She appeared to be deep in thought. I closed the door and locked it, so we weren't disturbed. "Tink, are you okay?" "Hey," she looked up. "What? Are you okay?" I asked again. "Yeah, I was just thinking." "About?" I asked kneeling in front of her. "Jasper, I saw you KSS her, or rather, she KSSCD you. Oh God, are you okay? Were you in pain?" "I'm sorry, it came out of nowhere." "Jasper, it didn't hurt." I leaned back and looked at her confused. "What? It didn't hurt," she repeated. "Jasper, I watched you 2KSS, and initially, I was angry and wanted to KLL her, but then I realized that it was only me who was angry. Callie wasn't reacting. That's when I also realized that even though you were kissing another girl, it didn't cause me pain." I lifted an eyebrow this time. "Jasper, Callie says that this fake Saren is as real as I am." I don't," I squinted my eyes in confusion. "She says that this Saren is a clone. A replica of me, and because of that, we're the same person, which is why when you KSSCD her, it didn't hurt me." I stared at her blankly trying to control my thoughts. The fact that Callie figured out this other Saren was a clone could ruin our plan, or could it? I opened my mouth to say something but didn't know what to say. "Be honest with me, Jasper. About when you were kissing her, did you prefer her, as in Saren, or me, as in Megan? Is this a trick question?" I asked a little concerned, but all she did was laugh. No, it's a serious question that I need an answer to. I won't be mad, I just really need to hear your answer, and I don't want to get it from your thoughts. I want to hear you say it. I nodded my head and let out a deep sigh. I think I knew where this was going. My honest answer. She looked at me waiting for me to continue. I prefer Saren to Megan, I said carefully and saw her smile and relax. I do too. What? Jasper, when this all over, and we succeed in killing the vampire, by whatever means necessary, I want to get rid of the clone, and I want to go back to being Saren. I'm not meant to be Megan, and I know that now, I let out a sigh of relief. Dearest, you have no idea how happy that makes me. I love you as Megan, and I always would, but I have to be honest. I miss your blonde hair, chocolate eyes, peach skin, and your flawless face. The freckles are cute, and the green eyes are beautiful, but I prefer the real you over the disguised you. She smiled big and hugged me tightly. Now that we're on the same page about that, she said and pulled away. How about you tell me why you lied about knowing who the clone is? Oh. Chapter 92. Jasper's POV. I never thought the day would come that I could piss off my mate to the point where she felt the need to use her powers on me, but that's exactly what happened when I finally came clean with Megan about the Saren clone. The minute she caught me in a lie, I knew that I was in deep SHT. Megan used her power of mind control on me and forced me to tell her everything I knew about the clone, that creating her with Svetlana was my idea, and that Svetlana is now a man posing as the clone's master, and that the clone has a mission which I figured out is to draw out the vampire using her powers. Dearest. Don't, she pointed her finger at me as I was on my knees with my arms above my head. She was using my mother's tactics against me now, and by force. Don't even start trying to utter me up, Jasper, she snarled. Megan, I didn't know that she would send the clone here. Why would you even want her to create one? She said that the vampire can't tell the difference between the real individual and the clone, so I thought maybe having a clone of yourself could be used as a distraction so we could plan ahead. I didn't know the details of the plan because I didn't want you to find out. Kind of late for that, she screamed. Thankfully, my mom was taking care of Sam. Jasper, we just got finished talking about me going back to being Saren after all this is over. What would have happened had my clone actually been taken by him? I would have to stay Megan for the rest of my life, or at least until he figured out that she is a fake. Because then he would come back for me. I know, I realize that now and I'm sorry, baby. But I was desperate to protect you after you told me about your premonition. Jasper, my premonition was only a warning to prepare us and possibly change the outcome of everything. But if Alesandro were to take my clone and find out she's a fake, he would most definitely come back. That doesn't fix anything. I get it, okay. I wasn't thinking of the bigger picture, I admit. I hated to admit it, but I was wrong. The idea of the clone was a quick decision at the time, but I think we can use her to our advantage now. How? Svetlana said that you will come into play when the time comes and that you will know what to do when it does. She scowled at me and glared. I don't know the details, and honestly, I don't think your clone does either, she scoffed and crossed her arms. Why did you lie to me? You could have just told me the truth. I did it to protect you, and again, as I said, I had no idea the clone was going to show up here. Well, she is here, and I'm fighting with myself to keep my mate away from me. That doesn't even make sense. Can I get up from the floor? I asked her. She finally released her telepathic hold on me, and I got up. I rolled my shoulders to get rid of the lactic acid that built up over the last 45 minutes of her interrogation. Once I got the feeling back in my arms, I gently grabbed her by the shoulders. I know that this is not ideal, and unfortunately, it's too late to try and come up with a different plan. According to Svetlana, the vampire will be on our doorstep in less than a day, 2 at most. I need to spend more time with your clone training her. Obviously, with the continued use of her powers, it will only give the vampire a better opportunity to track her down, and when the time comes, I need you to be ready, both of you. She lets out a sigh and nods her head. IH.UG her NK, SS the top of her head. I'm still mad at you for lying, she says as she hits my back. I don't doubt that, but hold on to that anger. Why? Use it against the vampire. Imposter Saren's POV. Saren, you can't get too attached to the alpha, my master yelled at me. You said that I needed to take my place here. I did, but I also told you not to get attached again. Your job as the Luna of this pack is to protect it, and your mate. If you get attached, how do you plan on completing your mission? Why does it have to be me? Megan has powers too and she's just as strong as I am. Keep your voice down, he sneers at me. Megan is not the chosen one, you are. You did what you had to do and used your powers against her. Why didn't you tell me she was a primordial like me? I don't believe that she is. Just because she has powers does not mean she is like you. There are plenty of blessed wolves out there in the world that isn't your kind. They could have witches in their family line or be blessed by the moon goddess. This is stupid. I never asked for this. I shout and cross my arms. You may not have, but it is your destiny, and you must fulfill it or we all die. That includes Jasper. I looked at him in frustration as he used my love for Jasper against me. You never explained to me why you're so obsessed with getting rid of the vampire. You're right, I didn't, and I'm not going to. All you need to know that it's not just me who wants him gone. Every supernatural being needs him gone. Who is the bride that he is looking for, and why do I have to be the one to draw him out? Have you not heard a word I said? You are the chosen one. If he finds his bride, we all die. Is that what you want? For you, Jasper, and your pack to die because you're too jealous that he moved on when you're the one who rejected him. Do you have to keep throwing that back at my face? If it means you get your act together, then yes, he shouted at me. Saren, the vampire is on his way here, and from what you have told me, the Alpha is training you to fight him. He believes in you, that has to count for something, I just nodded. Then use your love for your mate to protect everyone else. That is what a Luna does. She sacrifices for the greater good, I hated that he was. Right. All I've known is that I want to be the Luna that I failed to be, all because of the issues Jasper and I had with the loss of his memories. Even though I'm just the Saren he knew after I left, it doesn't stop the fact that we were once destined, and the breaking of our bond is what allowed the vampire to learn of my existence. Now I have the chance to fix it all and do what it is that I need to do. Even if that means losing Jasper forever. Saren, the time is drawing near, and you must be ready. When the time is right, you will know what to do, my master says to me. I nod my head and he vanishes before my very eyes. I close my eyes and let out a deep breath. He was right, the time was drawing near, and I had a mission to accomplish if I wanted to save Jasper and my pack. I still wonder how that Megan girl has powers, but I don't dwell on it for too long. I need to concentrate on the vampire and my plan of attack when he comes. I just hoped that what I know is enough. Alesandro's POV. After a grueling 20-hour flight, I have finally landed in Detroit, Michigan. I will never understand how werewolves can live amongst humans this way. What I hate the most is that it is currently the middle of the day, and I cannot go outside. General, we have secured the safe house here, and have made sure it is ready for you, my captain says. Where is it located? I asked. He shows me a map and the address of the safe house. I concentrate on the location and shimmer there. I land right into the living room, and it is fully darkened with curtains and all of the lights are off. There is some light from the cracks behind the curtains, but not enough to cause me any harm. Edger. I call for my idiotic nephew. He appears in a puff of silver smoke and bows his head. Master, he bows his head. Let's get started. We need to do research on the Blue Lake Pack before we go retrieve my bride. Yes, sir. 5 hours later, and the sun has finally started to set. Edger and I have come up with plenty of information regarding the Blue Lake Pack. Alpha Jasper Valencia, 27 years old. CEO to an architect company. Both parents alive, a younger sister who is mated to his beta. Pack size of over 800, impressive for a young alpha. His Luna, and my bride-to-be, Saren Calloway, 19 years old, primordial. Orphaned, then turned into a slave. Ran away from her pack when the alpha lost his memories. That's why their bond broke. Master, it says that the alpha has a new mate, and a son, Edger says. That is of no importance to me, I say to him and wave off the information. I look at my watch and see that the sun has fully set by now. I must feed and get rest. We will go to Blue Lake tomorrow night with our army of vampires. Send word back home and give all of them the coordinates of the Blue Lake Pack. Yes, Master. Enjoy your hunt, he says and bows his head. Oh, I will, I answer. I grab the keys off the wall and go to the car that is waiting in the driveway. I am confused as the driver's side is on the left and not the right as it is in Europe. I shake off the confusion and easily adjust. Unlike vampires of this age in time who have learned to adapt and curb their blood L.ust for humans, I have not. I still crave the warmth of fresh human blood and enjoy the thrill of the hunt. Hearing the screams as I attack, feeling their pulse weaken as I exsanguinate their lifeline from their delicious jugular vein as my master taught me to do when he was still alive. The stories that I have heard of him created by humankind make me want to vomit. The Count was more than just a mere vampire. He was the vampire. He had no weaknesses. A stake to the heart was child's play for him. Garlic, a crucifix, holy water, please. None of that could hurt him. The only thing that could harm the Count was the bite of a werewolf, and not just any werewolf, a primordial. And that's exactly what happened to him. William Curvino, the first primordial to ever exist, succeeded in killing the king of vampires with a single bite of werewolf venom. And now, I have made it my life's mission to destroy the werewolves. And the only way to do that is to mate with the female. The most powerful primordial, yet, the only two ever in existence up until now died while trying to give me an heir, well, while being forced to give me an heir. This new female, however, Saren, is the key. She is the chosen one. The last female to ever be born. She is the key to my success at having an heir so powerful, he or she will destroy the supernatural world. He or she will be the next king or queen and only my bloodline along that of the primordial will reign. As I linger on the thoughts of my heir ruling the world, I came upon a small club and see vampire fangs on the outside. Club count. I say out loud looking at the sign. Humans and their never-ending worship of my late master. I park the car and head towards the entrance, ignoring the line of patrons waiting to get in. "Hold it there, buddy, end of the line is back there," a man who weighs 300 pounds says to me. I can smell that he is human. I pull out my wallet and hand him $1,000 US dollars. He takes the cash and lets me pass. Humans will do anything for money and are easily bribed. I enter the club, and the stench of human waste and alcohol flood my senses. I make my way around and scour the crowd looking for my next meal. It's always so much easier to get a human when they are inebriated and discombobulated from narcotics. As I work my way around, I see a young brunette behind the bar. She is quite lovely. She has long brown hair, green eyes, a small nose, and what appears to be freckles across her cheeks and nose. She is quite small as well. "Hey there, gorgeous, what can I get for you?" she asks me. "Your name for starters," I answer. She taps her finger to her C.Hest, and I see a name tag, Diana, beautiful name for a beautiful young lady. If that's your way of hitting on me, it's not going to work. Now, are you going to order a drink, or not, because I have about 100 other patrons who are? "Your strongest and most expensive cognac," I order. "Actually, make that a double," she smirks and walks to a shelf. I see her pull out a bottle of Dictator 2 Masters cognac. She has good taste. I watch as he pours me a double and slides it down the bar to me. She puts the bottle away and comes back. "That's $80 a shot, and since you got a double, that's going to $160, babe," she said to me. I hand $200. "Keep the change," she smirks and walks away again. This young brunette has definitely caught my attention. Not only have I found my next meal, but I believe I found my next angel of the night. I wait for the night to end at the club, and at 3 in the morning, humans start to get kicked out of the club. I wait in my car, and towards around 4, Diana the bartender comes out. "Be safe, you guys, see you in a few days," she shouts to the other bartenders and security guards. I notice that she is walking. I start up my car and stalk her from afar. She walks several blocks and then turns the corner down an alley. I park on the side of the road and get out. I go down the same alley and find that she is nowhere in sight. I sniff for her, but the smell of sewage and garbage is making it hard for me to catch her scent. I close my eyes to concentrate when I feel a knife to my throat. I open my eyes, and Diana is holding a blade to my carotid artery. "Why are you following me?" "You intrigue me," I answer her honestly. "Stalking is illegal." Do I look like someone who cares? Her heart starts to race, and I feel the warmth of her humanity take over me like a drug. This human was very enticing. Her grip on the blade loosens and she slightly lowers it from my artery. I grab her arm, cover her mouth, and slam her against the wall. She M0ANS and tries to scream, but she can't. "Diana, you entice me, and I can't understand why, but you do," she grunts and tries to fight me. The way she moves is rubbing against me, and slowly, I feel myself getting aroused with her movements. I rip the knife out of her hand and throw it several feet away so she can't reach it again. While still covering her mouth, I pick her up with my other arm, wrapping her legs around me, and nestling between her legs. Her eyes bulge out of her head as I start to rub my hardened shaft against her. She tries to fight it, but I watch as her eyes flutter from the pleasure, and her scent of gratification hits me. "Do not fight it," I whisper in her, and use my vampire powers to control her. Though, I did not need much of it. I take my hand off of her mouth as I continue to rub against her. "Ah, she M0ANS. I capture her L, PS in a searing KSS, and her taste drives me wild. This is the most delicious human I have ever tasted. I pull away where I will take her blood shortly. Please, me, she begs. Me please. Are you sure? I ask with a hiss. Yes, I need it. I want it. While pressing her body against the wall with mine, I unbuckle my pants, rip her shorts open, and tear her underwear off her body. I enter her and I must admit, I've been with many women, but this was by the warmest I have ever experienced. Yes, she M0ANED loudly as I gave her the best of her human life. Diana, you are my new angel of the night, and you will serve me for all eternity, I tell her. Before she can say the word, I push her head to the side and bite her vein. I cover her mouth with my hand as she screams from the pain of losing all of her blood. First I feed on her, enjoying her sweet taste. Just as I feel her heart stop, I pump her full of vampire venom. Once I feel that it is enough, I feed her my blood from my wrist and empty my seed into her at the same time. I could feel the sun rising. I make myself decent, and quickly carry her to the car. I have just enough time to make it to the safe house to complete her transformation. Diana will make an excellent addition to my collection. Chapter 93. Jasper's POV. I was awoken by sudden M0ANING and whimpering. I looked at the clock, and it was almost 3:30 in the morning. I turned on the lamp and I looked over at Megan, who was covered head to toe in sweat. I hovered over and realized that she was having some sort of nightmare. But what was strange was that she was aroused at the same time. Tink, I shook her to get her to wake up, but she wasn't responding. Megan, baby, wake up, I shook her some more but still nothing. This was strange and unlike her. Megan wasn't a heavy sleeper, especially not after she had Sam, so for her not to respond to me was out of the ordinary. I did everything I could to get her to wake up, but nothing was working. I didn't have any other choice. I reached over to the nightstand, and pulled out one of Olivia's calling cards, and ripped it in half. A few seconds later, Olivia and William showed up in our room. Alpha, what's wrong? Olivia asked. Megan's in some kind of deep nightmare. I can't get her to wake up, I tell them. They both looked her over, and William stops Olivia from touching her. Don't, we both look at him in confusion. She's not dreaming, she's having another inner body premonition. Why would she be aroused in a premonition? I asked him. Something is off, I don't think she's having one of herself, he replied. Renz, what's wrong with her? Olivia asked him. I wanted to know the same thing. Megan is distraught because it's not her body that she's in. She's in the body of someone else, someone that's linked to her, but is not her, William answered. How is that possible? I asked. Premonitions are just visions. How can she be having a vision but be in someone else's body? Because she is not ordinary primordial. Remember when we said she would come into her full powers having giving birth? I nodded. Well, this is one of those powers that have fully come to life. As long as she is connected to someone, directly or indirectly, she can inner body premonition, and she will feel everything that he or she feels. Whether it's fear, AR0USAL, happiness, or even death. Are you telling me she can die? No, because it's not her actual body dying, he replied. I just looked at him even more confused than before when Megan screamed and jolted awake. Hey, you're okay, I said to her and rubbed her shoulders. Jasper, she was panting, and she was completely drenched in sweat. I'm here, Tink. You're okay. I'm right here, baby, I hugged her, and she took a deep breath. William? Olivia? Saren, what did you see? William asked. I'm not sure, she replied and rubbed her neck. She immediately hissed. Ow, what the hell? She touched her neck with the palm of her hand, and she was bleeding. What? I moved her hair out of the way, and there were 2 puncture marks on her neck. What is that? Oh my god, that's a vampire bite, Olivia said. What? I roared. Saren, tell me what you saw, William said, grabbing her shoulders. I was at a club, or a bar or some sort. I was serving drinks, and then this man came up to me. What did he look like? Olivia asked. Tall, maybe even taller than you, Jasper. He had black hair, dark brows, dark eyes, he was muscular, but not as much as you or William. He had a raspy yet sharp voice, and he was dressed in a button-down with dress pants. I gave him his drink and then that was it for a while. Then I was leaving, saying bye to people. I walked several yards before turning down an alley, and I was being followed. It was the creepy man from the bar. I put a knife to his throat. But then he did something to my body. He turned me on, and then he pinned me against the brick wall. He got rid of my knife, and the next thing I knew, I was begging him for X. I immediately let out a growl when she said that. Alpha, not now! Olivia shouted. Continue, Saren, William said. Both of them completely disregarding the fact that Megan had a premonition where she apparently someone else. During our intercourse, he said something about me being his angel of the night, me serving him for all eternity, and then he bit me, and then I woke up, and you guys are in front of me. Oh goddess, William said softly. Rens? What is it? Olivia asked. Saren, in your dream, did you by chance look into a mirror? Yeah, I did. The bar, the wall behind it was a mirror. What did you see? Myself? I saw Megan. T, William exclaimed and rubbed his face. William, what's going on? I asked him. That wasn't a premonition. That was a form of astral projection. What is that? Saren, or in this case, Megan's soul was projected into another person, and in this case a human, but the problem is that an out-of-body experience such as this can only happen when the souls are intertwined. What do you mean by intertwined? Megan asked. Saren, your alias, are you sure you came up with from a doll? William asked. Yes, why? Because in order for your soul to travel the way it just did and for you to be able to sustain that bite mark, which by the way is completely healed, I looked at her neck, and he was right. It was gone. Her skin was as smooth as ever, aside from my mark. Your soul and the body of the human you transferred to have to be one and the same. What? Rens, are you saying that there is another Megan out there? Olivia asked. Megan and I looked at him in shock. Yes, it means that there is in fact, the real Megan, or whatever her name is out there. And she is local. Are you telling me that I have another clone out there? Megan exclaimed. Not a clone, the real living person that your disguise is made up from. In this case, you are the clone, Saren. Megan is a magical disguise, and now, somehow, someway, Alesandro has found her and has turned her into a... Wait. What clone? He asked mid-sentence. Hold on, how do you the vampire she dreamt about is Alesandro? I asked, changing the subject back to the matter on hand. Olivia, will you? William said to her. She nodded her head and used her magic to bring up an image. Megan gasped and clung to me. That's him. That's the man in my dream or premonition, she said, pointing at the image. Only, he was dressed a lot better. This is Alesandro in the late 1600s. This is one of the last images of him that I have, Olivia said. Since he is a vampire, he obviously does not age. He's here, and he's coming for Saren, William said. What? I replied. In order for her to have an out-of-body experience like that, the events have to happen in real time. Which means, whoever this young woman is, Alesandro has just found her and turned her, and if she is local, then so is he, William answered. Oh God, Megan sighed. Do you two have something you need to share with us? William asked, lifting his brow, going back to the clone thing. Megan looked at me, giving the look that said, this is all on you. I hung my head, knowing that William was already reading my thoughts and came clean about the clone and all of the other details involved. It ended up turning into a heated argument between William and me. It got so heated that Sam started to stir awake. Saren and Olivia worked together to put a sound barrier and force field around him so he couldn't hear us, but we could hear him just in case. After arguing for over an hour, William and I finally came to settle our differences and agreed on the fact that I was stupid, but that Saren's clone will come in handy now. I hope you know what you're doing, Alpha, he said to me and took Olivia's hand. Call us if you need us, she said, dropping Sam's barrier, and they left. I turned to Megan, who was cradling Sam, and went over to her. Jasper, if my disguise as Megan is the resemblance or direct makeup of an actual human who has been turned into a vampire, what's going to happen if Alesandro brings her here with him and sees me? I don't know, but maybe we can use this to our advantage, just like we're doing with your clone. How? I'm not sure yet, but when I figure it out, I will let you know, she nodded her head and held Sam close. I held them both in my arms and tried to think of a way to use this new information for our benefit. Alessandro's POV. Watching my new angel of the night sleep as her transformation takes place was a sight to see. For some odd reason, I wanted to watch her transform. I normally could care less when one of my personal toys turned, but Diana was different. As her transformation finished, she started to stir awake. What? Where am I? You are in my safe house, my pet. What? She opened her eyes, and the moment she locked eyes with me, her face went from confusion to anger in 1 second flat. She tackled me to the ground and hissed at me. What have you done to me? She screamed. I turned you in a vampire. What? She stumbled back and got to her feet. No, you're full of SHT. Vampires aren't real. Oh. I elongated my fangs and made my eyes glow red. She gasps and retreated into a corner of the room. And no, that's not, no. This is a nightmare. I want to wake up. I want to wake up. I went up to her and pinched her cheek, making her help in pain. Why did you just pinch me? To show you that you're not in a dream, Diana, she glared at me and scoffed, still in complete disbelief. If you don't believe me, go into the bathroom. What? What is one thing you know about vampires? I will give you a hint, it has to do with mirrors. Realization struck her face, and she scurried to the bathroom. The moment she opened the door, she was met with the shock of her life. No, she screamed as she realized she had no reflection. Why? Why me? She screamed as she looked back at me with tears in her eyes. As said last night, you intrigued me, and enticed me. I wanted you, and I got to have you. Now, I will have you for all eternity, I replied as I stroked her cheek. She slapped my hand away. My, you really are feisty, aren't you? Stay away from me, she screamed. I saw her looking around the room and I saw her eyes land on the window. No! I shouted as she ran towards it. Thankfully, I got to her before she could open the curtains. The sun hit my arm and her face, but I was able to pull her back in time. I threw her against the wall and closed the curtain. What did you think you were doing? I hissed and lifted her by her throat. If there's one other thing I know about vampires, is that they die in the sunlight. So, you tried to commit suicide? Why? Why else? To get away from you. I refuse to be your little plaything. That is not up to you, Diana, I hissed again and threw her onto the bed. You belong to me and you will always belong to me. The only you get to die is if I die. What are you talking about? Vampire 101, if I die, any and all of my subordinates die with me, she lifted her brow in confusion. I have turned countless humans into our kind, tens of thousands. I have been alive since the days of the Count. The Count? As in Count Dracula. Yes, her brows furrowed, and her jaw hit the bed. So, you can imagine how many vampires exist in the world that are tied to me. If you want to commit suicide, you're going to have to kill me instead, because I will not allow you to use the sun. I can just use holy water or a stake to my heart. Good luck finding holy water in Michigan, and driving a stake through the heart is harder than you might think. Tears flood her eyes again as she breaks down. Most humans lash out in anger, and some just accept the inevitable, but Diana was actually quite disheartened being immortal now. I don't understand, why are you so disheartened? I ask her. My baby. You're what? My baby, I was 2 months pregnant, and you turning me killed my baby. You were pregnant? You were so eager to have sex with me. Because I was hormonal. An ex during the first trimester is safe. The father of my child left me, and I was going to be a single mom. I was okay with that. I had everything planned. But you took that away from me. This was not good. If there was one thing I knew about humans, is that they catered to their young and did anything for them. Turning Diana may have actually been a mistake on my part. But I couldn't get rid of her. Not after just having turned her. I would have work overtime to get her to succumb to her new life. Even if that means torturing her. But before that, I needed to plan for this evening. I left Diana in the room and went to the living room to get some sleep. I needed rest if I was going to retrieve the primordial. If Saren was like Adrianka or Ileana, then she would put up a major fight. William's POV. It's been months since Saren has found her rightful place by the Alpha's side, however, I am fearful of what is to come. Alesandro is coming, and we were out of time. Renz. I looked back to see Olivia in the doorway. We need to go Blue Lake today. I get the feeling that Alesandro will finally make his tonight after what Saren experienced. I thought you said you weren't allowed to interfere, she said, coming to me. I can't, but it does not mean that I can't be there as support for Saren. This is bigger than anyone can ever comprehend. You know as well as I do that if he were to get his hands on her. He won't, she said, cutting me off. You trained her well, and the Alpha has been training her doppelganger. I still can't believe the Alpha was stupid enough to have Svetlana create a clone of Saren. Wherever his head was at the time, it doesn't matter anymore. What's done is done, and now we have to deal with it. The problem is that Svetlana created very specific memories for the clone, and that includes you, so you can't just go show yourself in your true form. But I can't just stand here and do nothing, Olivia. She is the last of my descendants, not including Samson. If she dies, then that's it. Sam will be the end, because the powers that be will not allow another primordial to be born. Saren cannot die. She won't. Olivia exclaimed and grabbed my face. Renz, you said it yourself, you believe that she is immortal. If that is the case, then... I don't think she is, I said, interrupting her. What? Olivia pulled away slightly, looking at me confused. I don't believe that she is immortal. Why do you think that? Olivia asked me. I don't know, something in my gut is telling me that Saren does not maintain the power of immortality, but rather the power of regeneration. You think she can resurrect the dead? But even if you don't have that power, I know, which is why I believe that Saren has it, and she just doesn't know. Renz, where is this coming from? Immortality and regeneration are the only two powers that are forbidden to be given to any primordial, but I was the first, so I have the power of immortality, or rather the curse of it. To live for all eternity while everyone else I know and love eventually perish. Immortality is not a gift, Olivia, it is a punishment. However, the power of regeneration is a gift. And only one that is pure of heart and soul is supposed to have it. And you believe that Saren is the one? Yes, but this power comes with responsibility and restrictions. She will not be able to use it on just anyone. It cannot be done for greed or selfishness. How will we know if she really does have this power or if she is immortal? We won't know until the time comes, I answered and lowered my head. Just like me, Saren has powers that are primary, and those that are secondary, and some that are dormant. Olivia just nodded her head and let out a sigh. Alesandro is coming, and we need to be nearby just in case. Then let's get ready, she replied. I nodded my head and we got prepared to head out to Blue Lake. The war was coming whether we liked it or not, and the time was drawing near as to whether Saren was prepared enough to handle the task that she was destined for. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.